All right, so it's morning. Let's see, we probably made this about, I don't know, 9 o'clock last night. And so you can see she has risen beautifully overnight. All right, so you can punch her down, release some of that air. See how she goes down. Lots, okay? Now, you can flour a little bit, flour your surface. You want to put flour into the vessel, the vanneton, that you're going to let it do its final rise. If you do a circular one, you're going to get a more round loaf. If you do more of a rectangle, you'll get a little bit more of a square loaf. I will say that they kind of round off a little bit. And then you'll want I buy bulk shower caps and put them over. If they get dirty, then I throw them away. And the other thing that you're gonna want, if you don't wanna eyeball it, is a scale. And so I know basically my dough is about 2 pounds each. Let me get a scraper, a spider. You can get dividers. And so you just want to come in, you just want to pull it from the side. All right, so what I do is I let this dry out completely and it will break off and release. I only have to really, I'll wash it afterwards, but all right. So this is where you can basically try to eyeball and divide it in half. You want to cut it in half. Okay. And then you can take that bowl, put it on the scale. And like I said, they're about 2 pounds. So you want to get about 2 pounds of dough. One might be heavier than the other. That's 2.3. We'll see how much the other one is. And that one's 2.39, so I'm pretty good at dividing. So here, you're gonna want to shape your dough. So it can be pretty sticky, so, you know, a little bit of flour on the surface to just take away some of that stickiness. And basically what you wanna do is you wanna put it into kind of a square. Now there's lots of different ways that I have seen dough shaped, but this is pretty much how I do it. So you fold it. If you need to release it from the, you didn't put enough flour down, it's sticking a little bit, you can scrape it, fold it in half again. And then you scrape the end and you roll it. Okay. Now, it is a little bit sticky, so that means 2 things. It can be very hydration, or it could be slightly overproofed. For me, it was pretty cold in my house last night. It could be a little bit on the overproof side, but I'll tell you, as long as you add some flour to the top and then do your coils, what you're basically doing is you're creating tension on the surface of the dough and you're pushing it forward and then you're bringing it towards yourself. I've seen some people flour the surface, and then I've seen other people wet their hands. And then you flip it over and you put it in your vanneton, and then you stitch it. Bring it a little closer. And then you pull and press it down. Pull and press it down. Sometimes it wants to stick a little bit, but basically you just kind of putting together that line. And then once it kind of holds like that, all you have to do is grab your cover, put it on top, and then you'll leave this for about an hour to do its final rise. It usually about fills up the banneton, and then you're done. So flour surface. Get this bad boy out. Now, these will be a little over 2-pound loaf, okay? So it's gonna be a big loaf of sourdough. What I do for my inclusion loaves where I add specialty ingredients is I only weigh out 1 pound and make my inclusion loaves out of that. So again, she's sticky. Get some flour. Kind of flatten out to a rectangle or a square. I guess it's kind of more of a square, but kind of not. So you can just see, like, I can touch it, fold it, okay, almost like a burrito. If you press down, you're gonna get the air bubbles out. If you don't like a lot of air bubbles in your sourdough, press down on your dough while you're doing this step. If you like the air bubbles, leave it alone. Try to be as gentle with it as possible. So you roll it all up, and then you start doing the folds. Just a little sticky, so a little extra flour around the surface. And then push it away from you, and then pull it towards you. Push it away from you, pull it towards you. Push away, pull towards. And basically what you're wanting to do is you're trying to create this elastic dough that coats the outer part of it, and then it'll create that little area at the bottom where, okay, when you take it over, you flip it over, and then like I said, you'll kind of piece this together. I've seen a lot of people do this in so many ways. Basically, I want it to just like be attached to itself, okay? You kind of want a ball. You wanted it to be a ball. And then we cover it. Obviously, my hands are a mess because I feel like it's a little bit overproofed, but that's fine. And then you let these rise. Now, here's one of two things that you can decide to do, and then obviously clean up your counter space. So one of two things, you can let this rise on the counter for a final rise. Once it has risen, it will basically fill up the banneton. It kind of doubles in size. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, definitely depending on if it was overproofed or not. At this point, you can decide to let this rise on the counter and bake it as of this morning, if you want bread today, or you put it in the refrigerator and then you let it cold proof for literally up to like 3 to 5 days. The best that I have seen is usually within 1 to 2 days. The longer you let it cold proof, the more it's going to keep growing. And if you let it cold proof longer than that, you risk an overproofed bread. And if you want an overproofed bread for like focaccia and stuff like that, then let it proof longer and then spread it out like a pizza dough. But if you want a light, bubbly, airy bread, like a normal sourdough, you want to cold proof it and bake it within that time frame. Also, if you cold proof your bread, you are going to get a little bit more of that sourness to the sourdough because it is more fermented and the gluten is more pre-digested, and that's going to give you a more sour taste to your sourdough. So we'll come back when we're ready to bake one of these loaves.